We are sorry to interrupt everybody's Thursday of watching March Madness, but the Cleveland Browns are back in the game. 3 acquisitions over the last 24 hours. The most significant one, very interesting one, which we will break down now. Browns 3D starts now. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound Browns 3D on the OBR, brought to you by State Sharpening Mower Sales and Service. Since we left you last, Cleveland Browns, some activity. We'll just take them in order here real quick. Last evening, wide receiver, more primarily return man, Deandre Carter. Been in the league 8 seasons, most recently with the Chicago Bears, has been signed. 1-year deal. There is some guaranteed money. I believe it's around $800K. We'll talk a little bit more about Carter, but hopefully, and most importantly, not the only Carter coming to Cleveland this season for your Browns. Late this afternoon, the Browns have reached agreement. We do not have a contract detail just yet. Offensive lineman Teven Jenkins, 4 years with the Chicago Bears, drafted in 2021. He is now in the fold. Was played some left tackle, has played some left guard, has played some right guard. A little bit more to Teven Jenkins here in a minute. Also, only played 6 games last season with the Browns. Ended up on an IR with an injury, like most everybody else. Reserve corner, special teams ace Tony Jones comes back to Cleveland. So Browns, within, I would say, about the last 20 hours, 3 moves in the fold, in the building, in Berea. Now, we will certainly start all of this, and we will start with Teven Jenkins. Teven Jenkins was drafted in the 2nd round of the 2021 NFL Draft, the 39th overall. That was the Greg Newsome draft, just if anybody wants to basically refresh their mind of where they were. Okay. Since 2022, PFF overall grade of 80. Probably a better run blocker than he is pass blocker. He has had a pretty serious injury history. And that's why I'm wondering if this is a guy that maybe played in to an opportunity for the Browns to sign. Had a trip to Seattle, also had a trip to Cincinnati. I know Bengals fans, this is a guy they have been talking about basically since free agency opened, about somebody coming in because they certainly need some interior offensive line help in Cincinnati. Who knows? Maybe medicals were something that maybe scared Seattle, who also desperate for offensive line help as well. So Teven Jenkins comes in here, and look, I think it's 39 games played. 32 started over 4 seasons. So, that right there tells you, obviously, that Teven Jenkins has basically missed as much football as he has played. You look at the Browns' current interior offensive line situation. We know Joel is coming back. Ethan Posick, we have not heard anything, assuming Ethan Posick is going to return on the contract that he is on for this year. Wyatt Teller, there's really been no affirmative word one way or the other. But Wyatt Teller also looks to be coming back for what is the last year of his contract with the Cleveland Browns. Now, you get outside of that. Now you have, obviously, Zach Zinter, who was drafted in the 3rd round last year. We got to see a little bit of Zach last year. I don't know if there's enough to make a full determination, but you would think that there's a really strong opportunity come 2026. There would be an opening for Zach Zinter to go to the offensive line. The backup center will be going into year 3 here. Obviously, the former late day 3 pick from Ohio State. So there's probably, 5 rather that are sticking on the interior. Now you bring in Teven Jenkins. Now, has obviously guard flexibility, has played as a left guard, has played as a right guard. 6'6", 320 pounds. A big dude, big guy. And again, the medicals certainly, there's a history there, but it is very conceivable for the Cleveland Browns to be losing the entirety of their interior offensive line next year. Joel Posick, and of course, Wyatt Teller. As we know, Jack Conklin's contract has been adjusted as well. So technically on paper, the day, whenever it is, the 2025 season ends for the Cleveland Browns, they will technically only have, if it is DeJuan Jones, one starting offensive lineman under contract. Now, with Jenkins, and again, we do not have financials yet. My guess is this is probably going to be a 1-year deal. It could be a 2-year deal on paper that looks, and then when you break into it, possibly becomes a 1-year deal. Now, what I'm thinking is the Browns are bringing in Teven Jenkins. Obviously, Teven Jenkins, in my opinion, is someone they probably were interested in 2021. Just did not work out for them, obviously. 2021, of course, their second-round selection was Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who they had traded up for at 39. They wouldn't have had a shot, really, to get a Teven Jenkins anyway. Now, I think Jenkins comes in here. A, they, want to see where he's at with his health. B, it gives you a really, really strong backup duo of guards. You almost think that there would be a move coming, and maybe there is. Maybe there is something coming on the interior, and the guy I guess you would have to worry about, it would be, looking at in this scenario, if there was going to be a counter move to the signing of Teven Jenkins, would obviously probably be Wyatt Teller. Joe Bitonio says he's coming back for one more season. I doubt the Browns are all of a sudden going to tell Joe Bitonio now, you know what, change their mind. We're not interested. Let's aggravate our fan base even more and just basically tell somebody who's been a legend for this franchise, that even though he wants to come back, we're good. So, certainly not going to involve Joel. Wyatt, when you get the best of Wyatt Teller, healthy, all of that, Wyatt Teller's as good as there is of a guard in the NFL. But, Wyatt, certainly getting a little bit up there in years now, gets dinged. And some of these guys, I think people, and this is one of the biggest things I think that people do not give football players, NFL football players, credit for. We see a guy doesn't practice on Wednesday. We see a guy doesn't practice on Thursday. We see a guy did a couple of things at the walkthrough on Friday, plays on Sunday, and everybody just assumes said player is at top physical condition and ready to go, when they're not. Absolutely. Of course not. So I think Wyatt Teller, and look, if it's a calf and you're still going out there and you're manning the trenches on the interior portion of the offensive line of the NFL, that is yeoman's work, man, because how much strength are you basically capped of due to that injury? So, when Wyatt's been dinged up, we haven't seen certainly the best versions of Wyatt Teller, but it was certainly one of the better moves John Dorsey did. And Wyatt Teller came in here and, trying to think, I guess it was a 20. It was 20. I'm trying to think, was it 20? Oh, it was 19, actually. It was 2019. And they had that revolving door at right guard. And then it was by like week 8 or week 9, they plugged in Wyatt Teller. He was a beast for the rest of that season and has been a really, really solid player for this team ever since. Again, still waiting on the financials, but my thought here is they're going to bring Teven Jenkins in, and my guess is that somehow, some way, this is essentially going to be a 1-year deal. It could be worded as a 2-year deal. Who knows? But the Browns basically want to have a look-see. Teven Jenkins, obviously, was hoping to score a nice contract. It just didn't come to fruition. So a chance to get some tape out there, build himself back up. And for the Browns, if everything goes well with Teven Jenkins, and you think most likely Joe Bitonio after 2025 will settle off into the sun, your contract would be done with Wyatt Teller. You just plug in a guy who is going to be significantly younger than Wyatt Teller. I believe it's 4 years. And Zach Zinter, who's obviously just a baby. So you're thinking that possibly you have your starting guards in 2026 already under contract here in 2025. We know Zinter, there would be 2 years left on the rookie deal. Jenkins, you're getting this opportunity basically on a get-to-know-you basis, and then you can go ahead next offseason and work that deal out for him to be your starting guard. It was a nice move, quiet move, certainly something I did not see or expect coming. I would say that's one more thing off the board as far as the draft is concerned. The Browns have 4 guards under contract. So unless something changes between now and late April, guard is done for the Cleveland Browns. And maybe they sign a UDFA, something of that nature or whatever. But, you've got 4 guys who are certainly capable, and the expectation would be high that they would be able to produce if they were put into the lineup. So a quiet move, still waiting on the financials, but this isn't a bad move at all for the Cleveland Browns. You up that interior, and look, last year there was a revolving door. A lot of guys were going in and out playing on that offensive line. God forbid Joel's got to miss a little time or Wyatt Teller's got to miss a little time. Your confidence level is a little bit higher now with Zach Zinter going into year 2. And, of course, with the acquisition now today of former Chicago Bear, Teven Jenkins. Browns 3D continues. Appreciate everybody for being here. I'm excited to introduce everybody. Actually, who we kidding? They've been around for almost a month and a half now. State Sharpening Mower Sales in Broadview Heights. If you are local to the Cleveland area, they are your one-stop shop for all things lawn equipment. Is there anything worse than missing the Browns game because you've got lawn chores to do? State has the best lineup of new Cub Cadet mowers to cut your mowing time down, as well as genuine parts and expert factory-trained technicians to get your existing mower back into peak shape. Whether you are in the market for the state-of-the-art Ultima Zero Turn or the Top Dog Enduro Series tractor, let State Sharpening and Cub Cadet help you keep your weekend yours. They are veteran-owned. The Kane family are lifetime Clevelanders, lifetime Browns fans, and proud supporters of us here at the OBR. Again, if you're local to Cleveland, State Sharpening Mower Sales and Service in Broadview Heights is your hometown team for all your lawn equipment needs. All their info is at statesharp.com. That is STATESHARP.com. Your big news of the day, Cleveland Browns have reached contract agreement with offensive guard Teven Jenkins, formerly of the Chicago Bears. Always want to thank everybody. You guys are coming out in droves here, reading all the written content. The team is putting together a great amount of things for you guys all to consume. Do not forget to look into that insider package. Certainly a chance for you guys to get some information before you see it anywhere else. And, of course, the nightly streaming network, Browns, the OBR on YouTube, and, of course, the OBR on Twitch. Led off with us here at Browns 3D. After us tonight, you should have Brad Ward, Casey Kinnaman for All Eyes on Cleveland. Brad's doing a fantastic job, man, and a lot of shows here as well. So stick around, and give certainly your eyes, your ears, some time to Brad and Casey. So, again, Tevin Jenkins is in the fold. Tony Jones comes back. Look, we talked about this when Mike Ford went back to Atlanta. It's going to be a tough road right now to just be a special teams cornerback for the Cleveland Browns. You have Denzel. You have Martin Emerson. You have Greg Newsome. You have Cameron Mitchell. And you also have Miles Harden. That's 5 corners right there. Most likely the Browns will draft a corner. And why do I say that? Because the Browns always draft a corner. That's what they do. So certainly something to look into there. So, Jones at best right now sits 6th at a depth chart. Doesn't make a ton of money, so you could certainly find a way to keep him around to play specials, which he excels at. But it's probably going to be a little bit of a longer road to just have a veteran designated to be a special teams performer. The move last night, and I guess that one went off, right around basically, when my show ended, and then Brad and Fred jumped on. Deandre Carter, he's a good return man. I'm not going to sour on the signing. I don't know if it necessarily does much for me. We don't really have kick returners anymore in the NFL. There's really not even an opportunity for it. So signing a kick returner, doesn't, give me the gagas. Having a punt returner, it just seemed, for the last couple of years, the Browns tried to go this route. I guess, what was it, a few years ago, JoJo Natson, injury. Then the last couple of years, we tried it with Jakeem Grant. Certainly did not work out there as well. And a player I think we were all really excited about, and unfortunately, it just never worked out for Jakeem Grant. But Deandre Carter comes in for this role. I also think, and this might be a little bit that maybe nobody else is kind of running with right here. Deandre Carter is a wide receiver. I believe it was either 45 or 53 receptions was his career high one year. So it's not like he's not been a guy who does some wide receiver work as well. I think a lot of people just kind of flushed him off as a return man. He can contribute as a wide receiver. How much of an impact he could have here with the Browns, I'm not necessarily sure. But I think for me, one of the things I think where Carter could play a role is, look, the Browns wide receiver room, it's not necessarily young, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's old. You know what I'm saying? You have Judy, you have Tillman, it'll be Bell, it'll be Thrash, it'll be Woods. I wouldn't say there's no real, veteran within that room. Carter's 30 years old. Carter has been well-traveled. He has been in a lot of locker rooms. He has been in a lot of systems. So sometimes, you just want a vet in that room. Sometimes you need somebody else who can kind of, give a little more time, answer some of the questions that can't get answered in meetings. It's not a terrible idea to have a guy who can contribute as a return man, but also be basically the elder statesman of a positional room, pass off some knowledge, pass off some things. Look, he's played with a lot of people. He's played with a lot of systems. He's played with a lot of different quarterbacks, so it's not that he could not be viable in that role as well here for the Cleveland Browns. So certainly not a terrible move, but, you tell me on the surface, the Browns signed a return guy, I don't get much excitement from that. There's just not really much of an opportunity for, returns in the league anymore. So it's kind of hard to get giddy over that move. But, if he can come in and, help out and, help some of these young guys progress in that wide receiver room, that would certainly be something that, the Browns could certainly use as well. So, with all that, and I'm sorry I'm taking you all away, from Tourney time, and I'm sure you guys are all very, very excited, checking all that out as well. Also, here's just another one. The Browns had Jerome Baker. Jerome Baker visited the Browns today. So certainly a very active last 20 hours or so for the Cleveland Browns. Jerome Baker, I think, went to, for all you Ohio folks, I think it was Benedictine High. If that makes sense. Obviously a former Buckeye as well. So the Browns, here in week 2, and certainly when we're on phase 2, if not to phase 3 of free agency, Browns are starting to pick up a little more momentum. Now, we talked earlier in the week, right? Daniel Jeremiah put out a mock. Mel Kiper put out a mock. Who were these guys mocking to the Browns at number 2 overall? They have now been mocking Abdul Carter to the Cleveland Browns. And now you have Adam Schefter, and Adam Schefter, who has been strongly for a while now trying to tell the world he thought the Browns were going quarterback at 2, now says today the Browns are most likely not going quarterback at 2. I spoke, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, and I told you that there was a pretty strong affinity, and that was the belief this past college football season that the New York Giants had a thing for the Colorado Buffaloes. I think everybody, if you want to go check out the shoes Shedeur Sanders wore pregame for his bowl game. Giants colors. So where this is probably starting to come out now, and again, look, this is kind of where most of us here at the OBR have been on the quarterback position at 2, and that if it wasn't Cam Ward, you should go another route. Blue chip, elite, game changer. That's what you are looking to draft at 2 overall. And I said yesterday, I believe this draft gives you one player on offense that you can describe that way, and gives you one player on defense that you can describe that way. Well, they're not going to get Cam Ward. That leaves the game changer of Abdul Carter. And if that's the case, and it looks like it's most certainly going to be, I am all in on the Abdul Carter business. However, if the New York Giants feel that they won't be able to get any sleep unless they get to 2 for Shedeur Sanders, and the Browns may have to go to 3 and still get Abdul Carter, well, baby, phone lines are open. Let's make it happen. And I'm going to tell you what, Joe Schoen, I ain't even going to make it hard on you. I'm going to make it easy on you because I'm just going to get another pick in this year's class. I'll take some sort of pick in 2026, and let's do business. I don't even need a big deal. I don't need a wow me deal. You want Shedeur, I want Abdul. You want the assurance that you're getting him. No problem at all whatsoever. Let's do some business. We are getting word here from the OBR that Jerome Baker is actually still here. So it wasn't just a visit. He's visiting currently. So the thing with now, this would be, brought back Devin Bush, and now possibly in the Jerome Baker business. We talked about, unfortunately, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and basically mum is the word. Nobody's really saying anything. The best we got, and we got, from best our guys here at the OBR got was, he's living, he's doing his thing, but basically nothing that gave you an idea one way or the other as to where JOK is right now with his health. We talked about this and we kind of said maybe the Browns, without telling us the JOK situation, their actions may tell us the JOK situation. Well, you re-signed Devin Bush. You got a hometown hero, not just from high school, but also Ohio State guy, currently in the building. And look, Jerome Baker, good player, not a great player, but it does, for me, increase my level of concern for where the situation might be at with JOK. And, I don't really want to go any further with this because this is one of those ones you don't want to believe it, because Jeremiah turned out to be such a really, really good player for this team. Leader, game changer. Him in 2023 was just absolutely incredible to watch. So, we don't know, but then again, what the Cleveland is showing us may tell us some information of what is unfortunately the unknown on Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. So obviously some quiet activity for a while for the Browns, and kind of picked it back up here, back in business, as far as getting back into the free agent game. So it's kind of, I think we're getting closer and closer to getting the Browns more of the understanding, of course, what the draft plan is going to be. Offensive tackle is one they're going to have to address. You want to get that fourth guy. The Browns are most likely going to carry 10 offensive linemen, if not more, on their 53-man roster. You already have 4 guards, 2 centers. That puts you at 6. 3 tackles, that's going to put you at 9. You're probably going to draft another tackle. That is going to get you to 10 offensive linemen here. Nick Chubb, look, for those who want Nick Chubb back, I think there's every sensible reason to believe it could work. But here's also the other thing. If the Browns do, in fact, do what most think and go draft 2 running backs, Jerome Ford is still here as well. I don't think anybody wants to be in a situation where maybe Nick doesn't have a great summer, and all of a sudden the Browns are in a weird position come the final game of preseason, and then maybe have to move on from Nick Chubb. That would be a really, really difficult day. It would be a really, really rough one. If it goes this way and he just signs on with somebody else, it is what it is. But if it came to the fact that the Browns did, in fact, work out a deal, and look, either way, it's going to be a small, small deal for Nick Chubb. But if it comes up that, they get towards the end of summer and say, well, Jerome's good, obviously he's healthy, he's, giving us everything we wanted, rookie A, rookie B, both contributing, the Browns could be in a really, really weird situation with one of the most beloved players in franchise history. So, certainly something to keep your eyes on. I have no problem bringing Nick Chubb back. I hope Nick Chubb comes back. I hope Nick Chubb as well. But I think we really have to start looking at this logically, that you think that, maybe Nick can't get it all back, and then creates a really difficult spot where you have a favorite who may not actually be part of the team that performs and plays each and every Sunday. So we'll continue to see, obviously how that one goes. So the Browns, a little bit, guard brought in, return man can obviously do some things as a receiver, brought back your veteran core special teamer. You will see what the road is for Tony Jones as far as possibly making this roster. It could be difficult, of course. He has 5, guys under contract, good players in front of him. The Browns draft corners every year, so you kind of believe that's going to be the case. Still would like to see something at the tight end position. Wide receiver, there's just not much out there. Is there another quarterback move coming soon, veteran-wise? I would think something is coming. I think the Browns have moved away from Shedeur Sanders. I think you're starting to look at more and more that Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart. And Dart, it might actually be where he goes, because, this isn't going to be one where I think the Browns can hold the cards. I think there's going to be teams interested in Jackson Dart, and the Browns may not get the opportunity to get in the Jackson Dart game. But I do believe there is a big-time possibility they could find a way to get in the Jalen Milroe game, which could also then, put it, and I'm not sure what the betting line is on quarterbacks in round 1 for this draft. Normally it'd be 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. But my guess would probably be that betting line for the over-under on quarterbacks in round 1 would probably be at 3.5. And the way it's trending, and I know they're probably not deserving of it, but the way it's trending in everybody we talk to, you kind of get the feeling that, it could be 4 quarterbacks that end up going round 1 in what was actually considered to be a very, very poor class. So, we just continue here. And it was nice to get something, here, so we could have something, obviously, to, bring new to the conversations with the draft, still more than a month away. I'm starting to take heat now, because of the Abdul Carter stuff at 2. Look, I'm not here to say things that are going to please everyone. That's not the way it's supposed to go. I am here to give my opinion. I am here to view stuff, analyze it, and give you my thoughts. If you don't always like it, I apologize. I do. But if you agreed with everything I said, wouldn't this stuff get kind of boring at times? Look, it's plain and simple. Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett together for 5 seasons is something that defensive coordinators dream about at night. That is the biggest dream a defensive coordinator would have, is having a pairing of those 2 absolutely ridiculous world-class athletes terrorizing the quarterbacks of the AFC. I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. You got to get through Burrow. You got to get through Lamar. You got to get through Josh Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, Stroud. Maybe it's a little premature for Stroud, but he's gone to the playoffs 2 years in a row, so his name deserves to be in that conversation. These guys will beat your coverage. So the only way you can counteract them beating your coverage is making sure they never get the damn ball off. So your latest, Tevin Jenkins, signed reserve defensive back. Tony Jones comes back after missing most of last year on injured reserve. And the Browns signed return specialist wide receiver Deandre Carter. Kind of seems weird about Browns are picking up Chicago Bears scraps, but it's been some action, and we certainly are appreciative of it. Appreciate everybody. Of course, everybody's busting their butts, with the written word. Make sure you're checking out all the content. The guys are really putting a lot of effort into it. Definitely trying to, find you angles to, read and understand how all of this is working as the Browns, navigate this very important 2025 off season. Stick around at night for the streaming content. Follow the OBR on YouTube and, of course, over on Twitch as well. Stick around. You'll have Brad Ward and Casey Kinnaman after me. Browns 3D on the OBR has been brought to you by State Sharpening Mower Sales and Service. This has been your daily delivery of all things dog pound. Browns 3D on the OBR, and we'll talk to you all tomorrow.